Perhaps more than those of us who are thinking of the nostalgia of the Christmas season and so on.
Mm-hmm.
When the Christmas season, and now we talk about Advent, and it's very short this year.
Yeah, 3 weeks and a few hours.
Yeah, and then we move into Christmas, and then almost immediately some folks just take the tree down on the 26th. But the Christmas season extends from when to when?
So in the Roman Catholic liturgical calendar, it goes for at least 3 weekends.
Yeah.
The weekend after Christmas, we celebrate the Holy Family. And then the following weekend, the Epiphany, and then it concludes with the baptism of the Lord.
Yeah.
Which, as a child, always confused me. How did Jesus grow up? How did he go from a baby to 30 in just 2 weeks?
Yeah,
but,
right.
But yeah, so,
Yeah.
and then in the meantime, just, unfolding the Christmas mystery.
Yeah. The liturgical year, of course, begins with Advent, so that everything we do for the next year is shaped by this nativity story. I've discovered that very, very often we kind of even overlook Epiphany and go right to baptism of the Lord, which is also confusing, to zip through and not even pay attention to Epiphany. But the Feast of the Epiphany, whether it happens on January 6th, you celebrate it on the 6th, or do you celebrate it on the Sunday close to?
Usually on the Sunday closest.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. What other special services are at your two churches during the season?
We're going to have a lessons and carols service in Advent on the 18th, and that's nice because you get to unfold some of those readings in more of I think, a meditative way.
Yeah.
Just let the words resonate, and then a few hymns in between. That's just a quiet way to sort of prepare, I think,
Yeah.
for what we're going to hear throughout Christmas.
We've heard, my wife and I have gone to 2 lessons and carol services already. I'd prefer them to be at Christmas, but the Madrigals, the Binghamton Madrigals, did a wonderful concert here. And then we went to Cornell University's Lessons and Carols too, which is a powerful meditative experience. Some of the music quietly ethereal and just powerful. Mm-hmm. So different from the Christmas music we hear on the radio, for example. I call this the season of dead singers. Burl Ives, Bing Crosby,
Mm-hmm.
Sinatra,
Yeah.
and Andy Williams, and we bring them all out. They're not heard any other time of the year, but now we bring them out. But that Lessons and Carol service does tell the whole story from the Old Testament prophecies right on through the birth story and Epiphany. And then there's that reading from the Gospel of John. Now, how do you frame the prologue of John? In the beginning was the Word. How do you preach on that?
I concentrate on the light, because it
yes.
concludes with, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it.
Yep.
And who lives in this world without at least some sense of darkness in their own lives?
Yeah.
And Jesus being that light. I think of that flame that the wind can blow, but it'll never go out.
Yeah.
And it's with us always.
Do you do any sort of tenebrae? Do you darken the church during this?
No, but I've at Easter time, we have the dark
Yes,
church with
yeah.
the light, the
Yeah.
Paschal candle, that illumines, the whole darkness,
Yeah.
which, again, playing with those same themes from the prologue from John.
Yeah, and looking at the darkness in the world around us, the dark times, but also the darkness in people's lives. Mm-hmm. This is not a happy season for many of our parishioners. Mm-hmm. They have experienced loss, perhaps, in the past year or the past weeks. And suddenly everybody's saying, have a Merry Christmas. Mm-hmm. And some churches have a more subdued, I think some of them call it a blue Christmas service, where you're being especially sensitive to those who've experienced loss. And I think we'll find probably in the local papers some notice about churches doing that kind of service.
Yeah.
So I've always thought that was a helpful thing for folks.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gone right from high school to seminary and into the priesthood?
No. Once I graduated from Lemoyne College, and then I worked for 5 years at the Salvation Army in Syracuse
Ah.
as a case manager for homebound elderly.
Ah,
A job which I really loved. you know,
Yes.
so that, I think, prepared me well, I think, for seminary and priesthood. But
right,
yeah,
right.
very enjoyable.
Yep. And and we've kind of been centering in the preaching part. Is that your favorite part of the role? We mentioned that there's the pastor, the priest, the
Well, I certainly like variety. So
Yeah.
I like the fact that there are many roles, within ministry.
Yeah.
But there is a great sense of accomplishment and joy when you see the light go on, through preaching or through teaching.
Yes.
To see the light come on, the connection that's made.
Yeah.
And you've done your work, and now the Holy Spirit can work with that.
Right. I think the first time that I'm not even sure we met that night, but you were at the No Theater for Mass Appeal, and you were part of a panel. And I thought, well, here's a priest who's engaged in theater and this contemporary story, which probably was more controversial many years ago than it would be now. But I appreciated your involvement in that, and so I'm so glad that we've been able to get together finally
Yeah.
on the set and talk about this. When you move now into the Christmas season in your own parishes, is there a difference in the way St. Ambrose and Our Lady of Good Counsel? You're only talking about churches that are a handful of miles apart, so it's not like you have two constituencies necessarily.
Right. Well, this will be my first Christmas at St. Ambrose.
Ah.
I'm in my 8th year at Good Counsel.
Yes.
So I just want to
Yeah.
stand back and watch how things unfold.
Right, right.
But as far as the music goes, we have two excellent music ministers who are both on the same page, and I know that the music is going to be very much alive in either church.
Yeah.
And the choir is really, they love this season.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
music resonates.
You can't do Christmas without the sound of the angels, and so many parts of the Christmas story break out into song,
Yes.
including the Magnificat,
Yeah.
which is poetry, and then the angels singing and so on.
And it's one time of year when all the Catholics sing.
Right, right. Well, I'm glad that we have one chorus that we can sing into
Yes.
ecumenically. That's wonderful. Our guest today on Encounter, and it's gone by so quickly, is Father Michael Galuppi, who is the priest at both St. Ambrose Church in downtown Endicott and also in West Endicott at the corner of Griffin and West Main Street at Our Lady of Good Counsel Church. So again, thank you very much.
It has been a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much,
Thanks.
Jeff.
Enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us for this program produced by the Broome County Council of Churches. It's seen on Channel 12, WBNG, at 5:30 Sunday mornings if you happen to be listening to the radio. If you're watching on television, the program's audio track is on WNBF radio at 7 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I think I got that part covered. I'm Jeff Kellam, hoping that in the coming week, you'll be gentle with people and with yourself. And Merry Christmas to you.